Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
And welcome to On the Money, your daily weekday dose of economics, business and consumer news. I'm Liam Halligan, and today I'm back in London, having spent the week broadcasting from Northern Ireland. In today's 2-hour bumper show, you lucky people, we'll be reflecting on that trip while also noting that today is Black Friday, when retailers say they're offering us a bunch of pre-Christmas bargains. But are they? All that's coming up, but first it's the GB News headlines with Rhiannon Jones.
I'm Rhiannon Jones. This is your news at 1 o'clock. Health Secretary Sajid Javid has addressed Parliament, calling the new COVID-19 variant a huge international concern. Strict travel restrictions will be imposed on 6 African nations over the new strain, with officials saying it's the worst one we've seen so far. The World Health Organization held an emergency meeting this morning. No cases of the variant have been found in Britain as of yet.
We are concerned that this new variant may pose substantial risk to public health. The variant has an unusually large number of mutations. Yesterday, the UK Health Security Agency classified B11529 as a new variant under investigation, and the Variant Technical Group has designated it as a variant under investigation with very high priority.
France has pulled out of talks with the UK over what they're calling Boris Johnson's unacceptable letter about the migrant crisis. The Prime Minister outlined a series of measures to deal with the Channel crossings in a message to his counterpart Emmanuel Macron. 27 people died in the Channel on Wednesday after a boat they were in capsized.
2 days ago, I had a serious discussion with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And for my part, I intend to continue to apply what I do with all countries and all leaders. I'm surprised when things are not done seriously. We don't communicate between leaders on these issues via tweets or published letters. We are not whistleblowers.
A 12-year-old girl has died following an assault in Liverpool city centre. Police say Ava White suffered catastrophic injuries shortly after the Christmas lights switch on. 4 boys aged between 13 and 15 have been arrested on suspicion of murder. A man has appeared in court charged with murder in connection with the disappearance of an 18-year-old woman in Plymouth. Bobby Ann McLeod went missing on Saturday. A body was found at Bovisand earlier this week, around 7 miles from where she was last seen. 24-year-old Cody Ackland appeared at Plymouth Magistrates Court earlier. We're being warned of a crisis in patient safety at overcrowded A&E departments. A report from the Royal College of Emergency Medicine has found that nearly 2/3 of casualty units had ambulances queuing outside on a daily basis. The Department of Health says extra funding is being provided to boost staff numbers in key areas. A national cancer charity has warned of almost 50,000 missing cancer cases. Macmillan Cancer Support says the scale of the care backlog is yet to hit the NHS. It also warned that disruption from COVID-19 this winter could see the number of missing diagnoses increase further. Extinction Rebellion are blocking roads outside multiple Amazon warehouses around the UK in Black Friday protests. A spokesperson for the climate group say they want to draw attention to what they're describing as exploitative and environmentally destructive business practices. An Amazon spokesperson said they take their responsibilities very seriously. The number of cars made in the UK fell 41% in October. That's compared to the same month a year ago. The industry calls this decline worrying. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders said it was the 4th straight month of decline and the weakest October since 1956. Facebook, Instagram and TikTok are launching new features to encourage people to get their coronavirus booster jabs. Users will be able to update their profiles with frames or stickers to show that they've had their top-up. It follows on from previously being able to show on social media that you've had your first and second jabs. And forecasters have warned of travel chaos as Storm Arwen is set to batter parts of the UK with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The Met Office has issued a red wind warning for parts of North East England and Scotland from this afternoon. We're being told to expect power lines to come down as well as damage to buildings and homes. You're right up to date. I'll bring you the latest headlines in half an hour, but now let's return to Liam and On the Money.
Coming up on the money today, it's Black Friday, and we're told we should be at the shops and going online snapping up some pre-Christmas bargains. But are those discounts all they're cracked up to be? And what a day for Amazon, with workers in many countries, including the UK, planning to strike. I've spent the last few days broadcasting from Northern Ireland, and we'll be rounding off GB News Northern Ireland Week with more interviews and discussion. Each day on The Money features an in-depth Money Talks interview. And today's encounter is with Mark Durkin, Dean of the Ulster University Business School, who I met in Belfast's Titanic Visitor Centre. That's later in the show. And as ever, I want your questions, your solutions, your opinions. What do you think of Black Friday and of GB News' Northern Ireland Week? Get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or tweet @GBNews. Stay with us. This is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan, and you're on The Money. Now, shoppers are today set to splurge on what could be the biggest Black Friday yet. But the signs are the pre-Christmas discounts at the shops and online will be less generous than previous years, and they're also signs of post-pandemic shortages. The accountancy firm PricewaterhouseCoopers predicts around £8.7 billion will be spent today, up from £7.8 billion in 2019 and about twice as much as last year when the UK was in lockdown. Some big brands, though, are shunning Black Friday, and questions are being asked about the quality of the deals shoppers are being offered. Some retailers' pre-Christmas discount campaigns have lasted all week, or even the entire month of November. PwC predicts around 60% of UK adults will make Black Friday purchases as they kick off their Christmas shopping. They'll spend, on average, around £280. Not everyone's happy, of course. Extinction Rebellion campaigners are today trying to blockade Amazon depots across the UK, Europe and the US, arguing that Black Friday epitomises overconsumption. Retailers everywhere are struggling with supply chain issues, of course. And on top of that, Amazon is dealing today with work stoppages as trade unions push for higher wages and better working conditions. There are no UK Amazon depots that are unionised, but British unions are anyway staging protests in support of strikes elsewhere. And around 50 unions and protest groups worldwide have formed a Make Amazon Pay coalition, publishing a list of common demands. All this on the busiest day of the year for the online retailing giant. In sum, this is turning into the busiest, but also the noisiest and potentially the most chaotic Black Friday ever. All of which leads me to pose today's On the Money topic for debate. Black Friday, is it really worth it? Here at On the Money, we have grown-up conversations with people who really know their stuff. And joining me for today's discussion, we have retail expert Kay Hardcastle, as well as Phillips Graves, the consumer psychologist and author of Consumerology. And joining me in the studio, it's the personal finance expert, founder of MoneyMagpie.com, friend of the show, Jasmine Birtles. Jasmine, great to see you. Hi. And welcome to all my guests. Kate, let's go to you first. What do you make of the notion that these discounts for today's Black Friday, both in the shops and online, aren't really discounts to the extent that we're being told?
It's not a surprise. I know that most customers who are incredibly savvy, they have the world at their fingertips and can compare prices very quickly these days, know that it's perhaps not the most economical time of year to buy and get that bargain, but it's a good time of year for them to buy when they're particularly up in their spend relevant to Christmas. I think the bigger question obviously has to be, in this retail world post-pandemic, where we've got so many questions upon retailers in terms of their ethical stance, what they're doing to their stakeholders, their supply base? Is it actually beyond just a sale tactic now? Do they have to get much more authentic and respectful in their transactions? And that's generally what consumers are saying. When it comes to a sale bargain period, the split tends to be the same no matter what the research. 25% of us are really switched on in bargain hunting, 25% switched off, and about half of us sit in the middle, looking for the bargain. We might react to it, we might not. So I think there is some pent-up demand relating to this year, and that's why we might see a significant year. We know a lot of the retailers, even those who've gone out and said they're not going to partake, have found their own ways to discount at this time. And I think it's one of those questions they have to ask themselves, which is, can they afford not to be discounting and look to be in that period when the customers are hungry to get best value?
Kate's laid out the sort of psychology of this quite well, hasn't she, Philip? There's a fear of missing out, what my kids call FOMO, an acronym I learnt recently. I'm behind the times. But on the other hand, there are also people thinking, well, if I can get those bargains, maybe I should go along with everyone else and bear the crowds or get online in order to try and strike a bargain. Do you think, Philip, that as the cost of living rises, as inflation goes up, that incentive, that drive among us to go for a bargain could be higher than in previous years?
I think the way that we shop means that desire for a bargain and to look for a bargain is probably fairly stable. As we've just heard, people do have a lot of information at their fingertips. I think that the lens I would overlay on this is that most human behaviour is not consciously driven. So it's not that we arrive at this time of year and sit down and make lots of conscious decisions about what we want to do and how we do it. It's that we get drawn into a climate of influence where the media are talking about Black Friday, the people that we've bought from in the past are sending us information about Black Friday or about discounts. And so as a result of that, our attention, which is something that we manage at an unconscious level, is being directed at shopping at a higher level than it normally would. And as a result of that, we find ourselves looking at things, and every so often we'll find ourselves wanting something.
Jasmine, what do you make of this? On moneymagpie.com, you're constantly telling your readers how to spend their money more wisely. On the one hand, we've heard from both Kate and Philip there. On the one hand, people, if you get a bargain, it obviously saves you money. On the other hand, it may incentivise you to buy stuff you don't really need and your friends and family don't really want for Christmas anyway.
Exactly. So my thing about Black Friday, I'm a complete Scrooge, as it has to be. I'm a Black Friday Scrooge. I don't like it. And I do think if there is a particular thing or a few things that you know that you want or need, let's hope it's a need, and importantly, how much it should cost during the year, then you go on to a particular place that you know you're going to get a bargain and you find, 20% off, fine. You have then won at Black Friday. But anything else, as far as I'm concerned, just going into a shop or going onto a website going, wonder what there is, wonder what bargains I can get. No, you've lost before you've started because, as Philip points out, you are going to be sucked in. It's your influence. You've got this whole influence around you. So I say, just say no. Do tomorrow instead. Tomorrow, apparently, is Buy Nothing Day, International Buy Nothing Day. Now, I'm much more pro that. I think that's much greener as well.
Kate, let's go back to you. To what extent do you think that consumers are angry at retailers? Because retailers can use the word discount, can't they? They can convey the idea on a price tag or in their signage in the shop that they are offering goods cheaper than they otherwise would. But the legal sanctions for saying something that isn't strictly true are not all that great, are they?
There'll always be warnings about making sure that there is an authentic deal to be had. And we know that shoppers need to beware. We do know that there will be organisations that take advantage. But in the main, I think this is about solid relationships between organisations who are trying to just push the messaging. And I go back to the previous point, which is consumers want organisations to be better. 80% of consumers want organisations to be better. Now, that's a wide spread of an ask, but that came from a huge survey from the Centre of Progressive Policy, and that means improvement in all measures. So ask ourselves this: how can we see so many adverts relating to COP26 and environmental messages just a few weeks ago, and then we're seeing the overconsumption of messaging all about buying as much as you possibly can for Black Friday? Retailers really have to take a long, hard look at what they're saying and understand that this is about a longer term relationship. It costs so much money to acquire customers that retailers should be looking at keeping hold of them, not just trying to win them over with deals. So I don't mind the thrill of a bargain chase as long as you can afford it and it's within budget and it doesn't put you into debt. We know 2022 is going to be such a hard year for many of us, with the rise of fuel and food increases. But I think what we've got to make sure is, are the retailers that we want to survive, we want them to be organisations that are there for the years to come, building these relationships to last, or is it just simply a passing opportunity through one day? It just doesn't make sense that way.
While Amazon will be OK, Philip, a lot of high street retailers, of course, have had a particularly difficult 18 months. Many of them have gone to the wall. Business rates are returning. VAT discounts are about to be ended for hospitality industries. The high street's being hollowed out. On the other hand, you've got Extinction Rebellion trying to tell people to stay away from the shops. Who's going to win here?
Well, not Extinction Rebellion, unless they were going to suddenly increase their numbers into the millions. Consumer behaviour is something that exists in a way that is quite separate from what people say when they're asked about their consumer behaviour. And we aren't suddenly going to draw a line at any point about the way we consume and the amount we consume arbitrarily, as much as we might feel passionately that there are strong arguments to do that now, in much the same way as if you were to go back in history and try and draw a line, you would look at, well, you know, where are we capping economic growth? Where are we capping opportunity for people? So the consumer, you know, what we will have is a market-driven response, which is retailers, companies trying to find ways to survive and prosper, trying to find things they can do to attract customers in, and consumers voting with their feet, responding to those things that appeal to them and not responding to those things that don't. And in that mix, we will see, I suspect, what we continue to see at the moment, which is that a lot of the things that people purport to care about when they're asked about it are not demonstrated in their behaviour when they're making choices.
Jasmine, what do you make of the fact that not here in the UK, because Amazon isn't unionised, but across the world, there's strike action against Amazon on this, the busiest day of the year? We've often talked on this show about the tech giants becoming more and more politically controversial. This is the start of a big trend, right?
Yes, I hope so. And good on them. I am absolutely behind those who are fighting Amazon, because Amazon has been entirely disgusting, in my view, in the way that it's treated its workers. And you will remember, was it last year? I think it was last year when the Amazon workers tried to unionise in America.
Yeah.
And Amazon used all sorts of tactics to simply break them up. And this cannot continue because they do not treat their workers properly. There are all sorts of stories about various people in different levels who have had very unhappy times.
Well, that's your view, Jasmine. It is just a view, and you're fully entitled to it. It's a free country. We did ask Amazon to talk to us, of course, and they provided us with this statement. A spokesman said to GB News earlier today, "At Amazon, we take our responsibilities very seriously. We know there is always more to do, and we'll continue to invent and invest on behalf of our employees, customers, small businesses and communities." And let me just extend here publicly an invitation to Amazon. If they ever want to come on the money, they're more than welcome. Thank you very much to all my guests. Philip Graves, consumer psychologist, the author of Consumerology. Kate Hardcastle, of course, retail specialist. Great to see you both. Jasmine, as ever, we'll see you on the money again soon. In the run up to Christmas, you can give us some more Christmas shopping tips. Now, our East of England reporter, Amelia Harper, is in Tilbury at an Amazon warehouse as Extinction Rebellion continue to protest outside several of the company's depots. Amelia, great to see you here on the money. Are the protesters managing to cause disruption, or are they, from where you're standing, just making noise?
Well, Liam, there is a lot of disruption being caused here in Tilbury. Of course, Tilbury is a port town. There are haulage businesses all across here. And actually, as you can see behind me, the road that they are blockading is not just the road that leads to Amazon, but leads to several businesses behind me. And I've been speaking to a lot of haulage employees who are here, who are absolutely not happy about what is happening today. Of course, Extinction Rebellion are targeting Amazon on what is their busiest Black Friday day of the year. They plan to be here for 48 hours, although, Liam, it is getting increasingly cold as we're waiting for Storm Arwen to come through this weekend. They say they're going to stay here despite that. But let's have a look at the business impacts of this. Well, Extinction Rebellion say they are here because of the, in their words, exploitative and environmentally disruptive business practices. That's referencing Amazon, disregard for workers' rights and in the name of company profits, and the wastefulness of Black Friday. Well, you read out the Amazon right of reply. They said that they are going to be net zero by 2040, but you can possibly hear in the background, just in front of me, there is a large roundabout, and lots of haulage trucks are trying to come in and out of here. And I've spoken to one employee on a condition of anonymity, Liam, and he has said that tens of thousands of pounds has been lost this morning because of the disruption. Because behind me, to the left over my shoulder towards that direction, there is a haulage business there. They say that they have 80 to 100 trucks that cannot get in or out. They also say that night shift drivers are stuck. They cannot get back in. And the problem is that they are now, police here are turning those drivers away to wait in port areas, essentially in those lorry parks, and they don't know what they're doing. They are actually currently bargaining with Extinction Rebellion to try and come up with a solution by 2 p.m. But there's a second problem, Liam, because this is not just Extinction Rebellion that's causing a problem. Amazon workers are also striking over pay and conditions, as you were just speaking about just now. Those are affecting some factories across the UK, including in Colville, Leicestershire, Coventry, Peterborough, and in its London's headquarters. And this is, as you said, by the Make Amazon Pay campaign. It's backed by a number of groups, including GMB, the union, who are not happy with how Amazon is treating its workers. And I'm going to end on Amazon's right of reply, because it's important that they have their right of reply as well. They say Amazon said its critics were using incomplete information, insisting most ambulance call-outs to its building. This was after actually a claim from GMB, from a Freedom of Information Act, found that ambulance call-outs over health concerns at Amazon warehouses increased by almost 50% in the run-up to Black Friday. But Amazon say they are related to pre-existing conditions, not work-related incidents. But Liam, it's an interesting day for Amazon, and it's not yet clear exactly how this is going to affect those profit margins for them.
Nicely done, Amelia Harper there, our East of England correspondent at Tilbury. Amelia, you might want to get your puffer jacket out at the ready, and possibly a brolly looking at that sky. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Money. You're watching On The Money with me, Liam Halligan. After the break, we'll be rounding off GB News' Northern Ireland Week. I just returned from a trip to Belfast, Coleraine and Enniskillen. Very nice it was too. Stay with us. You're On The Money.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Storm Arwen is hitting the UK today. There are a number of Met Office warnings issued, and there is a threat to life across parts of the east coast of Scotland, northeast England, where the winds are going to be particularly severe. Here is that storm system heading its way south through the North Sea, but it's as the isobars squeeze together here across first northern and then eastern Scotland down into northeast England later today that the winds will potentially cause some significant damage and disruption. But right across the UK, the winds will be picking up through the day, and we could see some problems. So there is a number of warnings in place, yellow warnings covering much of the UK, but the most severe weather likely across the eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. There will be snow accompanying those strengthening winds as well over the hills across northern Scotland. We have warnings in place for that snow also. For the bulk of the heart of the country, plenty of sunshine around through this afternoon, some rain across East Anglia and the southeast, showers in the west feeling cold out there, and particularly as those winds strengthen. The strongest winds likely late afternoon into the evening down that eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. Damaging gusts of wind, flying debris, the threats to power, certainly major disruption to travel routes along that coastal strip. But everywhere, gusty winds through this evening and overnight, and this zone of wet weather sinking south, well, that could bring a covering of snow, certainly over hills, but even in places at low levels. The winds will remain strong. That'll help to keep the temperatures up a little bit, but if you are heading out tonight, it will feel cold. A cold start to the weekend. The winds will slowly ease during Saturday, but still very lively, and still the potential for this mixture of rain, sleet and snow across parts of eastern England during Saturday morning. Further west, it's largely dry, fine and sunny, but it will be cold as that wind only slowly eases down. Again, a cold feeling day. The Met Office warnings are on the Met Office website. Please keep up to date today.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back. You're on the money. Now, this is GB News Northern Ireland Week, and for the last few days, I've been presenting On the Money from Northern Ireland. We're devoting the rest of today's show to a look back on the week, reflecting on what we learned over recent days about peace, prosperity and the protocol. Together with GB News political editor Darren McCaffrey, I joined our Northern Ireland correspondent Dougie Beattie as we presented this show from the capital city, Belfast, on Tuesday, Enniskillen on Wednesday, down in there in Fermanagh, close to the Republic of Ireland border, and Coleraine on Thursday on Northern Ireland's beautiful northern coast. Now, the Northern Ireland economy is traditionally built on manufacturing, not least when Belfast was the shipbuilding capital of the world. Today's manufacturers tend to be more high-tech. And the economy is also focused on services, not least financial services, as well as agriculture and food processing. Many Northern Ireland businesses, like Elite Electronics in Fermanagh, have been grappling with the Northern Ireland Protocol, which since Brexit has kept the province within the European Union's single market, unlike the rest of the UK. But the boss of this particular firm thinks the protocol is an opportunity.
So that's a positive that, from Northern Ireland's perspective, is something that we should be cherishing and nurturing and developing to make sure that we maintain that advantage. So that's an advantage that we have over Scotland, England and Wales.
Many unionists, those who want Northern Ireland to stay part of the UK, worry that the protocol treats them differently from the rest of the country. Yet the idea Northern Ireland could benefit economically from this special status is spreading. Here's Nicole Ross, the co-owner of a manufacturing business just outside Belfast.
Certainly, we have a very niche marketplace here with 1 foot in the UK and 1 foot in the EU. So there's great potential there to what businesses can do in this niche market. I think certainly great opportunities for the next year or two.
Now, Northern Ireland has traditionally produced plenty of top craftsmen, and construction remains a big part of the economy. I visited the specialist joinery group in Derry, Londonderry, which exports bespoke joinery across the world and employs 150 people. The CEO of this world-class firm could live anywhere, but Kieran O'Hagan chooses to stay in Northern Ireland. Come a long way, haven't we, since the 70s, 80s and 90s?
Dramatic difference. Dramatic difference. I'm a homebird, and this is my home, and this is where my roots are. This is where my family is. This is where the family of specialist group is, and I have absolutely no aspirations to move anywhere else in the world.
Northern Ireland's been through a lot, of course. From the late 60s to late 90s, violence among both Catholic and Protestant paramilitaries alike loomed large. But the 1998 Belfast Good Friday Agreement has promoted both peace and prosperity, which is why Glenn Wheeler, this young entrepreneur and father from Enniskillen, is also determined to stay.
I grew up in the middle of all that, and it probably made me who I am today.
In what sense? That's interesting.
I don't know, it probably toughened us up a wee bit, maybe. Yeah. It was hard at times, absolutely, but like we still made great friends, and we've come such a long way since then. We don't really look back, and it's been looking forward now, and like I don't want my kids to be growing up in that, environment that there's a divide between.
You're betting everything on peace and prosperity here, aren't you? Everything, your life, your family.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's a big call. Now, the best thing about Northern Ireland is the people of Northern Ireland, a resilient and determined bunch, whichever community they're from. I enjoyed spending time there, and I will be back soon, I promise you that. And for the rest of the show, we'll be rounding off GB News' Northern Ireland Week with more interviews and discussions about this beautiful part of the UK, home to some of the best businesses on the island of Ireland. So stay with us. This is GB News, and you're on the money. As you saw there, just a taster from the many interviews that I conducted, that Darren McCaffrey conducted, that Dougie Beattie conducted. GB News spoke to some fabulous business owners during our time in Northern Ireland this week. Now, someone who knows the Northern Ireland business community pretty well is Roger Pollen. He's head of the Federation of Small Businesses in Northern Ireland, and I'm delighted that Roger joins me now live from County Down. Roger, the island of Ireland, North and the Republic, it produces so many small businessmen and women. So much of the economy is small and medium-sized enterprises, people working for themselves, ploughing their own furrow. Why do you think that is?
Sorry, a shocking demonstration of media engagement there. As a phone I didn't realise was here has just gone off. So
Roger, it's almost the weekend. Carry on, fella. Did you hear my question?
I did. Listen, I think it is something about the people in the place that there's lots of really, really good entrepreneurs emerge from here. And you've picked out some great ones there. Nicole there from the engineering group. They're doing some fantastic business. The specialist group that you featured as well. Again, I've been up there, visited the factory, and the people that are around that are just brilliant. What's also interesting is when businesses grow up to a certain scale here, like the specialist group, you find people in there who've seen opportunities of their own, maybe got their own ambition, and they then go and set up another business nearby. You see that a lot in Mid-Ulster, where we've got some of the best engineering on the planet. Of the vast majority of the quarrying equipment that's used everywhere on the planet comes out of Mid-Ulster. So really good people, good skills. And I suppose to a certain extent, the adversity that people have faced has actually shaped them and given them some of the skills and the resilience that they need to go on and set up their own businesses. So I was really pleased to see the range and the geography that you managed to capture in your visit this week, and really looking forward to you coming back over and seeing some more of it.
Our engagement with Northern Ireland will continue, Roger. I give you my commitment, and I know Darren McCaffrey and the whole GB News team feels the same. way. What is it that business in Northern Ireland really needs? We heard a lot about the protocol. Quite a few business leaders told me if the protocol can be smoothed out and the worst excesses of the bureaucracy can be tamed, then this kind of dual status, this niche, as Nicole Ross called it, that Northern Ireland has, could be useful.
It could be, and I suppose the devil's in the detail. The Good Friday Agreement was all about protecting minorities. I think Bill Clinton described it as a surpassing piece of genius. And it was really, really good because even the minorities right across Northern Ireland, whatever the reason they were in minority, there was a way for them to be protected, to have a voice and have a stake in the future. And I think we need to make sure that the protocol does the same thing for businesses. So there's no point if all of our manufacturers are having a great time and that majority is protected, but a significant minority of people who just bring stuff into Northern Ireland and don't trade anywhere else are being badly affected and seeing their businesses damaged. So I think the protocol needs to just be a bit more flexible and almost be the economic equivalent of the Good Friday Agreement. If we can get to that point, then I think we might have an unfair advantage, and whoever resents or objects to having an unfair advantage, but we will have a unique position where we can access two markets and be the gateway to both the UK and the European Union, which would then make us a great place for GB businesses to be based as their UK centre for accessing the EU tariff and barrier free.
The economic equivalent of the Good Friday Agreement. That's an interesting phase, one I'm certainly going to stick in my back pocket and think about later. Roger Pollan, thanks to you and the Federation of Small Businesses Northern Ireland for helping us during GB News Northern Ireland Week. You'll be back. You're watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. After the break, it's our Money Talks interview, and it's with Mark Durkin. He's Dean of the Ulster University Business School, a professor empowering students across Northern Ireland and beyond to build skills and shape their own destiny. That's after the GB News headlines with Rhiannon Jones.
I'm Rhiannon Jones. Here are the latest headlines. Health Secretary Sajid Javid has addressed Parliament, calling the new COVID-19 variant a huge international concern. The World Health Organization held an emergency meeting this morning. Strict travel restrictions will be imposed on 6 African nations over the new variant. Officials say it's the worst one we've seen so far. No cases have been found in the UK as of yet. France has pulled out of talks with the UK over what they're calling Boris Johnson's unacceptable letter about the migrant crisis. The Prime Minister is urging France to allow all illegal migrants crossing the Channel to be returned. 27 people drowned in the Channel on Wednesday when a boat capsized. A 12-year-old girl has died following an assault in Liverpool city centre. 4 boys, one aged 13, 2 aged 14 and a 15-year-old have been arrested on suspicion of murder. Police say Ava White suffered catastrophic injuries shortly after the Christmas lights switch on. Extinction Rebellion are blocking roads outside various Amazon warehouses around the UK in Black Friday protests. A spokesperson for the climate group say they want to draw attention to what they're describing as exploitative and environmentally destructive business practices. An Amazon spokesperson said they take their responsibilities very seriously. And forecasters have warned of travel chaos as Storm Arwen is set to batter parts of the UK with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The Met Office has issued a red weather warning for wind in parts of northeast England and eastern Scotland from this afternoon. I'll have more on all of today's main stories at the top of the hour. See you then.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. All week I've been broadcasting from Northern Ireland, and many of you have been in touch with us via email and Twitter to convey your thoughts on GB News Northern Ireland Week and the protocol in general. Philip says, Enniskillen Lakes are wonderful. They certainly are. But unbelievably, due to the protocol, you can no longer bring your dog from the UK mainland without a pet passport and shots. It all takes a long time. Godfrey says the protocol's a total scam to entrap the whole of the UK under EU rules. It's 100% unnecessary. A simple, smart border between the north and the south of Ireland, where it belongs, is 100% doable. Ben emailed us to say it's costing $500,000 a month to run the protocol. It's marginalised one community and the benefits to small manufacturers are minimal. It's the equivalent of saying for every £5 you give me, I'll give you €1 back. And Ben says, great to see GB News reporting on matters which affect us here on the north coast of Northern Ireland. Thank you for taking the time to come over and to air the difficulties which the pandemic and Brexit have caused us. Thanks for all those emails you sent in during GB News Northern Ireland Week, and keep them coming. Now, it's on the money, so it must be time for my daily interview series, Money Talks. Now, much of the UK, of course, is suffering from a shortage of labour, with a record 1.3 million vacancies outstanding, according to the Office for National Statistics. But pretty much wherever I went in Northern Ireland, I saw help wanted signs. As the province has tried to upskill over recent decades, its top two universities, Queen's Belfast and the University of Ulster, have played a big role. They boast world-class departments in subjects ranging from business and finance to life and health sciences, cyber security, tech, and much more. I sat down with Mark Durkin, Dean of the Ulster Business School, with Belfast's historic shipyards in the background, to discuss higher education, skills, and the future prosperity of Northern Ireland. Mark, thanks a lot for joining us here in Northern Ireland. It's great to have you on the show. A lot of people say that one of the key attributes of Northern Ireland in attracting inward investment is its people, and in particular, its highly educated people. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Oh, totally. We're in the business of possibility for those young people. So the talent pipeline that both universities create here is an absolute attractor for the FDI that we're seeing coming into Belfast and Northern Ireland more generally.
What would you say about the state of higher education here in Northern Ireland at the moment? Obviously, the big two universities known around the UK and the world, Queen's and then Ulster University that you're part of. How important are they to the Northern Ireland economy in general?
Oh, they're critically important to the economy. In terms of that talent pipeline and the graduates that we produce, what we at Ulster try and do is make sure those graduates can do as well as think. So it's not just about the cerebral experience of a university experience, it's about can they actually have the skills to add value to the business community. So while we're based in Belfast and we have a new campus just about to open through next year, we're also in Coleraine and we're also in Derry, Londonderry. And I think that regional spread really allows us to speak to the sub-regional economies of those areas, and that adds real value to the business community and society more generally.
Now, both Queen's and Ulster are known for the humanities and so on, a big heritage, but I think both big universities here in Northern Ireland are known in particular now for IT, cyber security, tech in general.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I suppose the biggest area of investment within Northern Ireland, and Belfast particularly, has been in the whole area of fintech. So in the last couple of years...
It's where financial services meet technology.
Yeah, and I think when you think about what we've all been through in the last 2 years, you've seen a great increase in the level of financial transactions. So the fintech industry is obviously based upon that. Associated with that then, you've RegTech emerging, because we obviously have to have compliance around those financial transactions and the growth in that. So we're seeing those two big hubs really emerge. But also, Liam, you know, advanced manufacturing. Northern Ireland was always known for its manufacturing base. 100 years ago, 2/3 of manufacturing on the island happened in Northern Ireland. That has since flipped, but what we're starting to see now is advanced manufacturing emerge. And that, with city deals and growth deals, we're starting to see investment in that as well. So tremendous potential for the region.
Tell us in particular about Coleraine, the Ulster University campus in Coleraine. It's a very picturesque part of the country, obviously. Giant's Causeway is very nearby, a world-renowned natural attraction. But what is it about the Coleraine campus that you think is particularly interesting?
So each of our campuses have a different emphasis. In Coleraine, it tends to be more science orientated, although the business school which I run has a hospitality and tourism management section there that's actually ranked first in the UK for the quality of what it does. To speak to your point about that outdoor orientation that we have there, the tourism, the hospitality, the artisan food sector, that all plays to the strength that the university and the business school have. So while we're a unitary institution, we're nuanced in terms of those sub-regional economies that we serve in Belfast, Coleraine and in Derry, Londonderry.
Now, when I was a kid looking to go to university, very few of my peers would have considered, with all respect, coming to Northern Ireland. It was the late 80s, the Troubles were in full swing, it was a difficult time. But I now have university-aged children, and many of their friends are talking about coming to the island of Ireland in general, and to Northern Ireland in particular. They're coming to me for advice, not that I'm fit to advise them. But you are attracting quite a lot of students, aren't you, from the UK mainland, if you like, from GB, but also from the rest of the world.
Oh, very, very much, Liam. I was going to actually say that. I mean, it's not just about students from England, Scotland, Wales who are coming to Northern Ireland. It's also the international reputation that the region is getting. And of course, there's world-class, both universities are world-class in terms of what they do, but it's also about the social experience that they have when they come here. It's about the friendliness of the people. It's about the destination campuses, for example, that we would offer across the region. And I think that student experience is very differential here and can add a lot of value. So we are seeing tremendous interest.
We're both old enough, Mark, to remember times when Northern Ireland was different. Yes, of course, there are ongoing issues with the protocol and Brexit. But I think it's fair to say this place has been transformed since the Belfast Good Friday Agreement of 1998. What difference has it made to you personally and the higher education community as a whole?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I did grow up through the Troubles. I remember them very well. I think thinking back to that, it's like a different life in terms of where we are, and it's a completely different environment. The people that I would teach and be in lecture theatres with, when I go in to see the students and I look at their dates of birth, you know, they have no memory, no context of what had gone before. So I think in many ways the slate is wiped clean for those younger people. And what we try and instill, certainly from a business school perspective, is a sense of possibility. I think for many during the Troubles, there was a sense of impossibility and a dependency on the state to help and to guide. What we want to try and do is have those young people empowered to take shape their own destiny and to manage their own futures, and to give them skills, I suppose, and a mental framework to be comfortable with uncertainty, to be comfortable with ambiguity, and to see opportunity in that change that's around us, whether it's Brexit or pandemic, you know, to try and emerge from that without being defined by it.
I've got to ask you this question. You're a leading figure in education here in Northern Ireland. You're the Dean of the Ulster University Business School. It's a very significant position, if I may say so. As somebody with a close affinity to Ireland as a whole myself, I have to ask you, to what extent does it shape Northern Ireland's future, the fact that many people are still educated separately, if you like? Schools tend to be delineated along religious lines. Surely there's always going to be at least some division or some remnant of division, with the best will in the world, while that continues.
I can't disagree with that. I would be very much a supporter of integrated education. When you see the collaboration that happens at university level, for example, and what we're about really at Ulster is inclusivity and modernity. We're not about exclusivity and tradition. So that inclusivity goes to the point you make. It's about all cultures coming together in a university environment, the freedom of speech that comes with that, the freedom to think in new ways, and to learn from other cultures as they join us in that university community is really important. And I think, we would often talk about travel being the best education in ourselves and our families, to go overseas and see new things. What we want to do is try and bring people here so that the community of Northern Ireland can be exposed to those other perspectives. And I think we're making significant progress on that, but it just takes time.
Of course, we have faith schools across the UK. You have Muslim schools, you have Jewish schools, you have Roman Catholic schools, right across the UK. So there's nothing wrong in principle with it. But surely here in Northern Ireland, it would be advantageous and would help to build a real sense of unity if kids from different communities, different religious backgrounds, made a point of going to school together. Is there any chance, and I'm sorry to sound naive by asking it, but is there any chance that may happen at some stage?
I don't think it's a naive question at all. I think it's a good one. I mean, when I was growing up, we used to have in the curriculum something called Education for Mutual Understanding, and it was, to your exact point, it was about understanding the perspectives of the other community. It was about people coming together and learning from each other. I think universities as agents of change in the environments that they sit within, in the place that they're from, have a key role in helping us do that. I think at a school level, integrated education does help with that. But there's a mindset change that I think leaders within Northern Ireland have to recognise that, and it's just really about enabling it as we go forward.
What do you think is the best possible thing that the British government could do now to assist Northern Ireland to help get the entrepreneurial dynamism that we know is here, it's been here for generations, to really make it productive and to turn it into higher living standards, less state subsidy for this important part of the UK? Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's a good question. We're 6% of the landmass of the UK. We're 3% of the population, and we're 2% of the GDP. Right, so I think investing in public spending here is 21% higher per head than the rest of the country.
And the other side of this equation is the public sector employs 27% of the workforce. So we have a disproportionately big public sector. We have a private sector where, if you look at small businesses in Northern Ireland, they employ more than the large companies and the public sector combined. And what I think we really need from government is to release the potential of those smaller businesses. So there's lots of policy interventions, I would argue, in quite a fragmented way, and it's about perhaps trying to bring those together in a more cohesive way to help small businesses. This week alone, I was at two events that speak to your point, if you'll permit me. One was a new ambassador circle that Tourism Northern Ireland, Invest Northern Ireland have created that will encourage conferences to come to Northern Ireland to allow people to see what is here. And the other one was an Ulster University Business School and Federation for Small Business report called Back to the Startup, which is all about looking at policy interventions around encouraging startup and growth within our small business community and what we need to help create an ecosystem around that. So government working with educators, working with business in a more integrated way. I think those kind of direct interventions could be really helpful to releasing the potential that you speak to.
It's hardly surprising this economy is dominated by small businesses, right? People from this island, both sides of the border, have travelled around the world and set up businesses literally for generations. Do you see that creative spark among your students as the Dean of the Ulster Business School?
Totally see it every day. Creativity, people talk a lot about innovation, Liam, and innovation is almost a buzzword now as we talk about how things will change, not just here, but more widely. For me, innovation is preceded by creativity. You spoke to the creative spark. Without the creative spark, the innovation doesn't come. And without entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial activity to bring the innovation to market, we're not going to be able to create the value that we could. So innovation in and of itself is just one part of the creative, innovative and entrepreneurial process. And that's what we try and teach in the business school. That journey is not just about innovation, it's about creativity to stimulate the innovation and from there to get it sold into the market at value. And that's where we'll get the higher value jobs, that's where we'll get a rise in living standards.
And we've got over 1,100 multinational companies represented here in Northern Ireland, not just in Belfast, but across the country.
Yep.
You're getting more inward investment per head now than Scotland, and Scotland's no slouch when it comes to that.
Yeah.
What would you say, finally, Professor Mark Durkin, to international investors who are thinking coming to the UK? Why Northern Ireland?
Northern Ireland, because when you come here, you will be struck by the openness of the people, their willingness to do business with you, the environment in which you can do business and the support that's there, and most important of all, the talent pipeline that you will see come into your business. People who can think, but people more importantly who can leverage that thinking into value for you and your business, and that's why you should come.
Professor Mark Durkin, the Dean of Ulster University Business School, thanks a lot for joining us.
Pleasure, Liam, thank you.
That was my latest Money Talks interview with Mark Durkin of Ulster University. Many of my previous Money Talks interviews are on the GB News YouTube channel or on my podcast Money Talks, available on all good podcast platforms. We've been putting lots more Ulster, Northern Ireland related interviews up on that podcast over the coming days when we catch our breath. You've been watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. Stay right with us. We've got another hour of On the Money, you lucky people. We'll be continuing our Northern Ireland special, focusing on prosperity, peace and the post-recall. Stay with us. You're On the Money.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Storm Arwen is hitting the UK today. There are a number of Met Office warnings issued, and there is a threat to life across parts of the east coast of Scotland, northeast England, where the winds are going to be particularly severe. Here is that storm system heading its way south through the North Sea, but it's as the isobars squeeze together here across first northern and then eastern Scotland down into northeast England later today that the winds will potentially cause some significant damage and disruption. But right across the UK, the winds will be picking up through the day, and we could see some problems. So there is a number of warnings in place, yellow warnings covering much of the UK, but the most severe weather likely across the eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. There will be snow accompanying those strengthening winds as well over the hills across northern Scotland. We have warnings in place for that snow also. For the bulk of the heart of the country, plenty of sunshine around through this afternoon, some rain across East Anglia and the southeast, showers in the west. Feeling cold out there, and particularly as those winds strengthen. The strongest winds likely late afternoon into the evening down that eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. Damaging gusts of wind, flying debris, the threats to power, certainly major disruption to travel routes along that coastal strip. But everywhere, gusty winds through this evening and overnight, and this zone of wet weather sinking south, well, that could bring a covering of snow, certainly over hills, but even in places at low levels. The winds will remain strong. That'll help to keep the temperatures up a little bit, but if you are heading out tonight, it will feel cold. A cold start to the weekend. The winds will slowly ease during Saturday, but still very lively, and still the potential for this mixture of rain, sleet and snow across parts of eastern England during Saturday morning. Further west, it's largely dry, fine and sunny, but it will be cold as that wind only slowly eases down. Again, a cold feeling day. The Met Office warnings are on the Met Office website. Please keep up to date today.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
And welcome to another hour of On the Money, your daily weekday dose of economics, business and consumer news. I'm Liam Halligan, and for the next hour we'll be reflecting more on our recent trip to Northern Ireland and continuing those important discussions over the Northern Ireland Protocol, peace and prosperity. First, it's the GB News headlines with Rhiannon Jones.
I'm Rhiannon Jones. This is your news at 2 o'clock. Belgium has confirmed the first case of the new COVID-19 variant in Europe. It comes as the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, says the situation is of huge international concern. Strict travel restrictions will be imposed on 6 African nations over the new strain, with officials saying it's the worst one we've seen so far. The World Health Organization held an emergency meeting this morning. No cases of the variant have been found in Britain as of yet.
We are concerned that this new variant may pose substantial risk to public health. The variant has an unusually large number of mutations. Yesterday, the UK Health Security Agency classified B11529 as a new variant under investigation, and the Variant Technical Group has designated it as a variant under investigation with very high priority.
France has pulled out of talks with the UK over what they're calling Boris Johnson's unacceptable letter about the migrant crisis. The Prime Minister outlined a series of measures to deal with the Channel crossings in a message to his counterpart Emmanuel Macron. 27 people drowned in the Channel on Wednesday after their boat capsized.
2 days ago, I had a serious discussion with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And for my part, I intend to continue to apply what I do with all countries and all leaders. I'm surprised when things are not done seriously. We don't communicate between leaders on these issues via tweets or published letters. We are not whistleblowers.
A 12-year-old girl has died following an assault in Liverpool city centre. Police say Ava White suffered catastrophic injuries shortly after the Christmas lights switch on. 4 boys aged between 13 and 15 have been arrested on suspicion of murder. A man has appeared in court charged with the murder in connection with the disappearance of an 18-year-old woman in Plymouth. Bobby Ann McLeod went missing on Saturday. A body was found at Bovisand earlier this week, around 7 miles from where she was last seen. 24-year-old Cody Ackland appeared at Plymouth Magistrates Court earlier. A warrant has been issued for the brother of the Manchester Arena bomber. Ismail Abedi had been ordered to attend the public inquiry into the May 2017 terror attack, but he boarded a flight to Istanbul at the end of August and hasn't returned. It's argued he has important evidence to give on his younger brother's path to extremism. We're being warned of a crisis in patient safety at overcrowded A&E departments. A report from the Royal College of Emergency Medicine has found that nearly 2/3 of casualty units had ambulances queuing outside on a daily basis. The Department of Health says extra funding is being provided to boost staff numbers in key areas. A national cancer charity has warned of almost 50,000 missing cancer cases. Macmillan Cancer Support says the scale of the care backlog is yet to hit the NHS. It also warned that disruption from COVID-19 this winter could see the number of missing diagnoses increase further. Extinction Rebellion are blocking roads outside multiple Amazon warehouses around the UK in Black Friday protests. A spokesperson for the climate group say they want to draw attention to what they're describing as exploitative and environmentally destructive business practices. An Amazon spokesperson said they take their responsibilities very seriously. Facebook, Instagram and TikTok are launching new features to encourage people to get their coronavirus booster jabs. Users will be able to update their profiles with frames or stickers to show that they've had their top-up. It follows on from previously being able to show on social media that you've had your first and second jabs. And forecasters have warned of travel chaos as Storm Arwen is set to batter parts of the UK with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The Met Office has issued a red wind warning for parts of northeast England and Scotland from this afternoon. We're being told to expect power lines to come down as well as damage to buildings and homes. You're right up to date. I'll bring you the latest headlines in half an hour. Now let's return to Liam and On the Money.
And this is On the Money. Over the next hour, we'll continue to reflect on our time in Northern Ireland. I've spent the last few days visiting and presenting this show from Belfast, from Enniskillen and from Coleraine. We'll continue to focus on prosperity, peace and the protocol. And later in the show, we'll be showing exclusively for the first time Paul Hawkins' full-length GB News documentary, focusing on the protocol and how it affects those living in Northern Ireland. As always, we want your opinions, suggestions. What did you think of GB News' Northern Ireland Week? Get in touch. Email us, gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet @GBNews. Stay with us. This is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan, and you're On the Money. So during Northern Ireland Week, I've been presenting On the Money from Belfast, Enniskillen and Coleraine. We'll continue to look during this hour on what we learnt during that visit about peace, prosperity and the protocol. Together with GB News political editor Darren McCaffrey, I joined our Northern Ireland correspondent Doogie Beattie as we presented the show from the capital city on Tuesday, from Enniskillen in Fermanagh down by the Republic of Ireland border on Wednesday, and from Coleraine up on Northern Ireland's beautiful north coast on Thursday. Now, negotiations over that Northern Ireland protocol are ongoing, of course. The UK Brexit Minister, Lord Frost, and his EU counterpart, Maros Sefcovic, are meeting for more talks later today. The protocol's part of the Brexit withdrawal agreement, which keeps Northern Ireland, unlike the rest of the UK, inside the European Union's single market for goods, with the aim of avoiding a hard border on the island of Ireland between Northern Ireland and the Republic to the south. That means, for now, a lot more customs checks and paperwork for some goods travelling from Great Britain across the Irish Sea to Northern Ireland. It's a complex, fraught situation with politics, economics, trade and diplomacy intertwining as London and Brussels try to reach a long-term compromise. We'll be diving into the details next, so stay with us. You're On the Money. Joining me now to discuss the protocol and its complexity is somebody who has written copiously on the subject, a recognised expert, Professor Graham Gudgeon. Professor Gudgeon is Chief Economic Advisor for Policy Exchange, a think tank and an honorary research associate at the Centre for Business Research at the University of Cambridge's Judge Business School. Professor Graham Gudgeon, thank you so much for joining me On the Money to discuss the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, I followed Northern Ireland closely over the years, as you know, and what really struck me during this visit to the province was, yes, there's still a lot of unionist concern about the loss of identity, the constitutional change in Northern Ireland, but an awful lot of businesses came up to me and said, if we can smooth out the rough edges, it could actually be quite useful.
Yes, I think there's some truth in that, but not a huge amount. I mean, businesses which export from Northern Ireland into the EU can do so somewhat more easily than businesses in GB can do. But on the other hand, it's harder for them to get supplies from GB into Northern Ireland. So they've got advantages on one hand and they've got disadvantages on the other hand. But the key thing to note on this is that the protocol isn't biting terribly much at present because the UK still has pretty well all the same EU regulations as it always has. We haven't changed very much yet. But over time, these will change, and it will be harder to get things into Northern Ireland. For instance, if the UK were to import cheap beef from Argentina, or Brazil, which didn't fit EU rules, then it just wouldn't be allowed into Northern Ireland. People in GB would be able to get the cheap beef, but not consumers in Northern Ireland. And as time goes on, I think the semi-detached status of Northern Ireland would become much more obvious. But if you ask businesses today, then they're not facing huge problems. Well, some are. Some are facing problems in getting supplies, components, raw materials, etc., from GB, but others aren't. So I'm not terribly surprised at the reaction you got when you were in Northern Ireland.
Now, you'll know better than anyone, Professor Gudgeon, that the whole reason or the whole rationale or justification, depending on your view, of the protocol is that we all want to avoid physical border posts on the island of Ireland between the North and the Republic, given that they evoke previous bad times. What do you say to those who say the whole thing is a hoax? You can all have a smart border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. There's already a border for currency, VAT, tax, duty, many other things. So with the use of technology, you could make sure that goods weren't going from Northern Ireland into the EU, i.e. the Republic of Ireland, without border posts. So then you wouldn't need the protocol. You'd just use technology instead. Do you buy that?
Yes, indeed I do, Liam. You're quite right on that. But no need to take my word for it. The EU's own trade experts, who they asked to write a report on this, said exactly that. Their view was that the methods to control customs and so on at borders are something like 40 years out of date around the EU, as they are in many countries, not really taking account of modern electronics and internet and so on. And the whole thing could be done largely electronically. But the EU didn't want to do that. And in the very poor negotiations that took place from the UK side under Theresa May, it was never really pushed. So the UK missed a big trick here. They should have just refused to agree a hard border and say that we would negotiate on how to control trade across that border. And of course, we should have said at the same time, of course, we don't agree any border in the Irish Sea between Northern Ireland and GB. But the negotiation stance was so abysmal that all those chances were missed.
Well, Professor Gudgeon, I'm sorry we haven't got more time to talk about the protocol right now. I know you're particularly expert on it. Please do come back on the money to discuss it with me as these negotiations hot up. And as you say, importantly, pointing out the protocol really starts to bite in the weeks and months ahead. Thanks a lot for joining me on GB News, Professor Graham Gudgeon there of the think tank Policy Exchange. You're watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. After the break, we'll be catching up with our Northern Ireland correspondent, Doogie Beattie, as we look back at the highlights from our week in his manner. Stay with us. You're On the Money.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Storm Arwen is hitting the UK today. There are a number of Met Office warnings issued, and there is a threat to life across parts of the east coast of Scotland, northeast England, where the winds are going to be particularly severe. Here is that storm system heading its way south through the North Sea, but it's as the isobars squeeze together here across first northern and then eastern Scotland down into northeast England later today that the winds will potentially cause some significant damage and disruption. But right across the UK, the winds will be picking up through the day and we could see some problems. So there is a number of warnings in place, yellow warnings covering much of the UK, but the most severe weather likely across the eastern side of Scotland into north-east England. There will be snow accompanying those strengthening winds as well over the hills across northern Scotland. We have warnings in place for that snow also. For the bulk of the heart of the country, plenty of sunshine around through this afternoon, some rain across East Anglia and the southeast, showers in the west. Feeling cold out there, and particularly as those winds strengthen. The strongest winds likely late afternoon into the evening down that eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. Damaging gusts of wind, flying debris, the threats to power, certainly major disruption to travel routes along that coastal strip. But everywhere, gusty winds through this evening and overnight, and this zone of wet weather sinking south, well, that could bring a covering of snow, certainly over hills, but even in places at low levels. The winds will remain strong. That'll help to keep the temperatures up a little bit, but if you are heading out tonight, it will feel cold. A cold start to the weekend. The winds will slowly ease during Saturday, but still very lively, and still the potential for this mixture of rain, sleet and snow across parts of eastern England during Saturday morning. Further west, it's largely dry, fine and sunny, but it will be cold as that wind only slowly eases down. Again, a cold feeling day. The Met Office warnings are on the Met Office website. Please keep up to date today.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back. You're on the money with me, Liam Halligan. Now, all week I've been in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, Enniskillen, Coleraine, along with GB News political editor Darren McCaffrey and our Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie. And Doogie joins me now as we reflect on the last few days and what we learnt. Doogie, just to say first up, it was great to see you in Northern Ireland. Thanks for the help that you did getting us around and giving us your guidance. We had a lot of discussions both on camera and off camera over the last few days. It really struck me how many businesses were saying they can live with the protocol for now, and actually it gives them some advantages. But as Professor Graham Gudgeon just pointed out here on GB News, as the UK and the EU diverge in terms of their regulations, that protocol will really start to bite.
Yes, and that is at the heart of what the faults that the protocol are about. It's the European Courts of Justice. They're there to sort of try and hold the UK to account, and that's part of the UK inside European regulations. That's a big sticking point with unionism. They think that they have no accountability in Northern Ireland. There's no sense in them being in government if they can't set laws. couple of answers to that, I suppose, would be either get rid of the ECJ out of the protocol or give unionists their MEP status back, and they might be able to live with that. But there's so many things wrong with the protocol as it goes along. But then, as we have learnt this week, there are so many things wrong inside the Northern Ireland Executive, and decisions not being made, no clarity for business, the sense that companies here have repeatedly said to us that they believe there is a disconnect between education and what is needed in the private sector, and that is a big, big problem in Northern Ireland. It's probably quite similar across other parts of the UK, but having news come here for the week enabled me to get miles on, months on, with that sort of force, and from the macro to the minuscule, looking at the economy here, the social issues and the governance. And it was great to have a national television station looking at regional issues with regional journalists, and us explaining to the UK audience. I mean, I stood on the border and showed them how open the border was, and how there is a difference in VAT, there is a difference in the education system, there is a difference on the health service, and there is a difference on taxation, particularly corporation tax. And yet withal, we still live along together, no problems, everything's still paid for. So is there really need for all this legislation in a country where there is only round about 7 million people north and south of the border?
Well, Dougie, I reiterate again, it was great to be in Northern Ireland with you, with Darren McCaffrey, of course, who hails from Fermanagh, from Enniskillen. GB News will be back supporting you. You obviously live and work in Northern Ireland. You're proudly from Ballygowan, County Down, and we will continue to focus on this important part of the UK. All the very best. You're watching On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. After the break, we'll be showing GB News' first documentary. It's called The Problem with the Protocol. Stay tuned to watch my colleague Paul Hawkins report from Northern Ireland, where he went to find out how this protocol is affecting lives across the country.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back. You're on the money with me, Liam Halligan. Now, throughout Northern Ireland Week, we've been showing clips from our GB News documentary, Northern Ireland, The Problem with the Protocol. We spent Paul Hawkins to explore what the protocol means for ordinary people in Northern Ireland and how it's impacting the various communities. Here in GB News' first feature-length documentary is what Paul Hawkins found.
Do July the 2nd, 2019. Boris Johnson arrives in Belfast during the race to be the next Conservative leader.
Under no circumstances, whatever happens, will I allow the EU or anyone else to create any kind of division down the Irish Sea or to attenuate our union.
But 107 days later, Boris Johnson announced a deal with the EU which would inevitably lead to checks on goods moving across the Irish Sea from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. It was called the Northern Ireland Protocol. Part of the Brexit withdrawal agreement, it came into force on January the 1st, 2021, designed to
get Brexit done. Get Brexit done. Get Brexit done.
It meant Britain left the EU single market, but Northern Ireland stayed in when it came to goods, and not everyone was happy.
Disperse immediately. This force is about to be used against violent individuals.
Tonight we leave the single market and the customs union. Yes, we spare a thought for Northern Ireland and our fishermen, but this is a moment to celebrate.
Economically, Northern Ireland is now different from the rest of the UK. And in this film, we'll explore how that difference has caused some people in Northern Ireland to feel threatened about their identity.
All of a sudden, we are no longer treated the same as they are. We should be treated the same as any other citizen of the United Kingdom, and we find it we're not.
But others feel optimistic about the future.
Northern Ireland has fought for 800 years to become one island. And Brexit is pushing that more and more towards actually happening.
Do you like the idea of it, if it can happen in a peaceful way, of a reunited Ireland?
Yeah.
And some have very little to say.
Quick word on Brexit for GBNews. What do you think of the protocol? How do you identify?
That is, if we can get there in the first place.
Now drive.
You turned it off.
Right, turn it on. That bloke's looking at me like I'm...
Paul, what are you doing, mate?
What's going on?
Right.
Boarding the 8-hour ferry from Liverpool to Belfast. I'll be honest, I didn't realise it took so long. But it's been an even longer journey for Northern Ireland, and it's far from over. In 1921, Ireland was divided broadly between Protestants in the north and Catholics in the south, which later became the Republic.
Tonight's rioting and shooting in Belfast was the climax of a violent weekend in the province.
But the peace didn't last. From the late 1960s until 1998, over 3,000 people died in a violent sectarian war. On one side, Republican paramilitaries who wanted a united Ireland. On the other, Unionist or Loyalist paramilitaries who wanted Northern Ireland to remain a part of the UK. Both groups were armed, both groups were violent. It was known as the Troubles. The violence, bloodshed and anger was so bad that peace walls went up to keep the two communities apart. But in 1998, the Troubles ended with the peace deal known as the Good Friday or Belfast Agreement. Security checkpoints, the targets for the IRA, were no longer needed, and so no hard border on the island of Ireland. But as part of the Brexit agreement, the Northern Ireland Protocol is designed to keep it that way. It means Northern Ireland remains part of the UK, but also part of the EU's single market when it came to goods. However, in order to protect that single market, the EU and the UK agreed to checks on goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, in effect creating a de facto border in the Irish Sea instead of on the island of Ireland.
Undoubtedly, some of these goods will have to undergo some sort of checks, because that potentially they may then go on to the European Union from Northern Ireland. Oh, there we go.
What are you up to, Paul?
Reading the Northern Ireland Protocol. Trying to read the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's got lots of terms and words and sentences in it. It's 60 pages long, and it's quite difficult to understand. But that says more probably about me than about the document, so maybe someone here can understand it.
Polling of just over 2,500 voters by Queen's University in Belfast at the start of October found 52% thought the protocol was a good thing on balance. But David disagrees.
Having a border in between the mainland and Northern Ireland, I don't think is the answer. There's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel? Do you feel British?
Yeah, well, look, I'm quite unique. I have a British passport and an Irish passport.
Okay.
So I feel both.
Well, tell us what does that feel like for you?
I'm British because I was born in Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland's part of the United Kingdom, so I'm British. But I'm also Irish. You know, I support rugby, so I support the Irish rugby team, which is in Dublin, and therefore I call myself Irish, but I also call myself British.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, we are on the same island, we're both called Irish. But then, I'm also called British, and I almost feel closer to Britain than the island I'm actually on.
I also don't want to go down that route of it's Catholic and Protestant. I think it's nationalist and unionist, and I think some people want to unite Ireland who may be from the Protestant community, and some may not from the Catholic community. So I don't think it's a religious thing.
Would you like that?
Would I like a united Ireland?
Yeah.
Look, as I said, I support Irish rugby. Would I want one Irish rugby team? Yes. Do I want one Irish hockey team? Yes. Do I think there should be one Irish football team? Yes. Why not? You know, do I think there should be a unified Ireland? I don't know.
Now you've got to take the parking brake off.
No. Put the parking brake off. Yeah, now drive, yeah?
Yeah.
There's like 5 different
what
things.
What are we going to do with you?
Where's a piece of Northern Ireland that you think never gets filmed, never gets shown, especially in the rest of the UK?
In terms of the good parts of Northern Ireland?
Yeah, just
well, look, for me,
I'm
I'm from the North Antrim coast, right?
Okay.
So that's the Giant's Causeway, it's Bushmills, it's Portrush, it's Benone, all that whole drive right round to Belfast around the coast, Cushendall, Cushendun, you know, the Gobbins.
Are you writing this down, Joe?
The Gobbins Cliff Path. There's so many beautiful parts of Northern Ireland.
Yeah, we're going to the Giant's Causeway tomorrow.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It's a film. Yeah, is it good?
Brilliant, yeah, absolutely.
David wasn't wrong. The Giant's Causeway is a World Heritage Site. Pre-pandemic, around 1 million visitors a year came from all over the world to see Northern Ireland's most famous landmark.
There's some disagreement as well, I hear, over how the Giant's Causeway came about. It's either the result of a volcanic event, or it's two giants throwing rocks at each other between Scotland and Ireland. Which side are you on?
Oh well, I'm definitely in the side of the giant.
Good.
That's Islay there, as you can see it. Just see over that there.
Oh yeah, right on the horizon.
And as you go on round the coastline, and you come to Tor Head, you're about 12 miles from the Mullican Tower, so you're really close.
Wow.
You know, so yeah, you're looking onto the Grand Causeway itself.
Yeah.
You know, where you see it going out to the sea.
Yeah.
And the legend has it that the giant Finn McCool built the causeway from here to the island of Staffa to fight the giant. So I believe this is the pinnacle of the whole place. This is what draws the people down that coastline.
It's breathtaking, the view.
Absolutely breathtaking.
The causeway is known to people here as the 8th wonder of the world. It's part of Northern Ireland's identity.
I would class myself as Northern Irish.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can take from that what they want. I think Northern Ireland as a place, or the island of Ireland, whatever you want to say, has moved on a lot since that. You know, and people are living together, and that's what has to happen.
To you, what is being Northern Irish?
Being Northern Irish is sharing places like this with people from all over the world. I've heard it said that the most welcoming people in this planet are from the north of Ireland. I would agree with that.
Do you know what the Northern Ireland Protocol is?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Do you think a lot of people feel that way?
Listen, if anybody has time to sit down and read a 60-page document on stuff that they don't probably understand even if they did read it, well, there's not much point in that, I would think, Paul. We talk about Irish and Northern Irish. Every bay that we're going to walk through from here till we get back up again has an Irish name.
Right.
This is Port Noffer, Giants Bay. We'll walk up into Port Ganny in Irish, it means Bay of Sand, and we'll walk up into Port Naboe, which is Bay of the Cow.
Right. What do you think the future of Northern Ireland is?
I look back over my years living in Northern Ireland, and I look back at since 1995, and I see how far it has come. We're not finished yet. I think the future of Northern Ireland is in the hands of the people that live in it. And I think it's up to the people who live in it.
Do you know what? That's called the Giant's Loom, is it?
Yeah.
And that's called the Giant's Organ.
Yep, and this is the Giant's Boot.
That's the Giant's Boot.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you the Giant Neville. How's that? Because you are a giant.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed your time with me.
Yeah, I really did, yeah. Learned loads. Yeah, he was like a fun teacher. Yeah.
Never been called that before.
The crowd should disperse immediately. Force is about to be used against violent individuals.
In the spring of 2021, loyalist areas across several Northern Ireland towns and cities saw rioting. It was nothing like the Troubles, but 90 officers were hurt as police were pelted with bricks, fireworks and petrol bombs. Most of those taking part were young men for a multitude of reasons. One of them, the protocol.
I'm careful not to call that what happened there a riot, because I think that's just slightly inaccurate. I think it was a demonstration. And it was a demonstration of anger and frustration on behalf of the protesters. And I think on the police it was a demonstration of strength and power, and that's not the approach.
Would you say it was a peaceful demonstration?
No, and I think mistakes were made, and I think it lacked real leadership.
Yeah.
And that's part of the anger and the frustration, is that unionism and loyalism kind of does lack real leadership at the minute. See the building with the black fence around it there? It's Kensington Medical Centre.
Oh, yeah. And that's where you got arrested?
Yeah.
Right, okay. How many times have you been arrested?
Twice.
Right, okay.
But although both times, nothing ever happened, it was, just a...
Yeah, released without charge. Yeah.
So, no crimes were committed.
No.
I want to make it absolutely clear that under no circumstances will I allow the EU or anyone else to create any kind of division down the Irish Sea or to attenuate our union.
And I think every bonfire this year should have had Boris Johnson's face nailed to the front, because he is an absolute traitor. And I think there's an opinion that London is the UK, and I mean, no disrespect to them, we're all in this together and all, but it's not. Our people paid our way in whenever we went to war for the United Kingdom. We paid for our right to be here, literally with the blood of our ancestors. Do you know what I mean? This isn't... People always say, well, the England don't really care about you. England don't really care about you. Why do you want to be in this so much if no one really gives a crap about you? And it's like, we don't give a crap if anyone else gives a crap. The point is, we have a right to be here. We have a blood right to be here.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I used to play with that woman's stones in her front garden every Friday. I struggle to believe that any Prime Minister wouldn't know that putting a border and separating Northern Ireland's economy from the rest of the UK would excuse my French, but off unionists. Boris Johnson's behaviour has been blatantly dishonest. He promised there wouldn't be any checks between Northern Ireland and GB. He promised that. So that's a promise broken. So his word means absolutely nothing to us. He's a traitor to us. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, feel that the protocol, it's no longer that we're approaching an issue here, we're approaching a crisis. It's like this law is completely and utterly unacceptable to us, and it's already in place. We chose to leave. Whether or not you agree with that is up to you. I didn't at the time. The only reason that I would call myself a Brexiteer now is because of how difficult it seems to have been to leave. We don't really show how serious we feel about this issue. We're done. I mean, what is a United Ireland, realistically? It's the economy, it's the institutions, it's the flag, it is all that stuff.
Loads of stuff, yeah. We've
just lost the economy. We're now basically an economic United Ireland. We're acting as if we are one. That is horrible and horrifying to us, especially whenever we were promised, in the name of peace, that wouldn't happen without our consent.
But as well as identity, the protocol also has practical implications for business. The UK and the EU agree there are problems with the protocol, but they can't agree on the changes that are needed. The EU is offering to cut checks by 80%, half the amount of customs paperwork, and allow the trade in medicines between Great Britain and Northern Ireland to carry on by passing a new law. It'll also relax the rules on chilled meats moving across the Irish Sea. The UK, however, wants to get rid of all customs checks and stop the European Commission, that's the EU's equivalent of the civil service, and the European Court of Justice from overseeing how the protocol works. If it doesn't get what it wants, it's threatening to trigger Article 16, effectively suspending parts of the agreement. And that is seen by many as the nuclear option.
Let there be no doubt that triggering Article 16 to seek the renegotiation of the protocol would have serious consequences.
What's this one's name?
Korski Vesna.
Korski Vesna?
Vesna.
How do you decide on a name?
We bought that cow back in 2008.
Right.
That cow there is 14-year-old. She's done having natural calves. We're just flushing away at her, taking embryos.
Alan breeds cows and used to sell them to Scottish farmers who paid the best price. But the protocol has changed all that.
How much riskier has the protocol made it?
Big time. It's made it a lot riskier. We bred these pedigrees here to take cross. The top end ones we take to Sterling every year. We were going twice a year, every February and October. And now from the 1st of January, if we take a bull and we don't sell them, or we get turned out of an inspection before the sale, we can't bring them home again for 6 months. And this is serious, serious stuff.
How much is that costing you? That potential sale that you could make when you're there?
Well, if you have a good bull there, you could be making you 7, 8, 9, 10 grand if you have the right bull. That's twice a year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money in the year gone. I voted for out, to be honest.
You voted for out. Did you anticipate this kind of problem?
No. As I say before, it was never mentioned of.
We'd spoken to people who feel strongly about their identity and who they are, and that they feel British, and that this de facto border in the Irish Sea makes them feel further from Britain, and that they feel Boris Johnson said there wouldn't be any sort of border in the Irish Sea, and now there is, and they feel betrayed. How do you feel about that? Do you feel strongly at all? Couldn't care less?
To be honest, I'm not really worried about that side of the thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
As long as we're getting away with our product, making good money on the business, not really worried about anything else down that line of thing.
Yeah. Do you feel betrayed by Boris Johnson?
No.
Alan's got beef with the protocol, but that doesn't mean every farmer has. I've come to the Ulster Farmers Market in Enniskillen.
I don't really know what's going on. A cow is coming out. The guy talks about what's on the screen, how much it weighs, where it's come from, and then everyone bids. I better be careful putting my hand up in case I accidentally buy a cow. Quick word on Brexit for GB News. What do you think of the protocol? How do you feel about Northern Irish identity? How do you identify? Protocol, Brexit, none of that has affected really your business.
Not at the minute, in any adverse way. I know there's an awful lot of uncertainty here before Brexit, serious concerns in the farming community, a lot of people very worried, and Brexit kind of came and went, and really nothing's changed as such so far.
For James, the protocol has made no difference. For Alan, changes to it could help to recover costs. And this man agrees.
Have you seen the border before now?
No, this is the first time I've ever been to Northern Ireland.
Let's see if we can spot it then.
Stephen Kelly represents 5,500 manufacturing firms in Northern Ireland. I've met him on the invisible border between Northern Ireland and the Republic.
So I was thinking that might be it. No, we're trying to spot the border, so that's not it.
Though it is a good clue.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's that.
So the only noticeable thing of the border is the change in the signs. See that sign, that UK road sign there? That's in the UK.
Right. Okay.
See the complete face opposite of that sign?
Yeah.
It's in kilometres per hour.
Yeah.
See the difference in the two surfaces?
Yeah. This looks a lot smoother.
That's the border.
And that's more granulated.
That's the border. So this is the old customs border.
Yeah.
And you can see it was like right on the border.
Yeah.
This became obsolete.
How does the protocol affect manufacturing in Northern Ireland from your point of view? Has it been a good or a bad thing?
So we're actually finding that anybody who exports is having a really good period. Anybody who sells from here into Britain is having a really good period. But those people who have to buy from Britain to bring to Northern Ireland, they're having all the cost and complexity associated with the Irish Sea border, which is adding a lot of pain. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever that goods that are travelling from Britain that are going back to Britain or staying in Northern Ireland that don't cross this invisible border should have checks and controls with them. They really should come to an agreement with the EU on agriculture, come to an agreement with the EU on veterinary, and with that, 80% of all the problems that are witnessed on the Irish Sea would disappear overnight.
Just finally, we've been speaking to loyalists in Belfast. They say that the protocol, having the border in the Irish Sea, it's a betrayal. They want it removed immediately, and it's an affront to their identity as unionists.
Well, the first thing to say to that is that this isn't the first step towards a united Ireland or an economically united Ireland. This is only the free movement of goods across this border. We're not part of the EU. We're not part of the EU single market. We don't have freedom of movement. We don't have freedom of capital. People in Northern Ireland can't just simply set up a business in the Republic of Ireland, etc., etc., etc. This is as far removed from being part of the EU and single market as the rest of the UK is. What it does mean is that our goods can freely move. So the fear that this is a step towards an economic united Ireland, frankly, is nonsense.
Maybe, but that's not how some of the people here see it. Today is the Ulster Ladies Senior Gaelic Football Final. Armagh in orange are playing Donegal in yellow. 15 players aside, they use a football with their hands or feet to score points by either kicking it in the goal or over the posts.
What's fascinating about this game, Gaelic football, is I didn't realise just how the history of it comes from a Republican Catholic background. And actually, we're in Northern Ireland, but the flags over there, none of them would tell you that. There's the Irish national flag over there, and before the game, everyone faced it, and they sung the Irish national anthem.
Back at the time, whenever the GAA was first founded, they wanted, it was a recruitment for, I don't want to go too much into it, but it was recruitment for the Irish Republican Army more than, but that has changed. There used to be a rule where Protestant people couldn't play and members of the armed force couldn't play and members of the police couldn't play. That rule's gone now. There's ones, so that anybody can play now. It's far more inclusive than it's ever been now. I actually prefer the ladies' game than the men's game now. Now, if you watch the likes of Dublin and the Donegal men's team, they'll hold the ball in the centre of the field, they'll pass it about, they'll try and time waste as much as possible, always waiting for that one opportunity. Right. Whereas the girls' game is just hell for leather, battle up and down the pitch, and it's far more exciting, there's far more scores, and to me it's better. I identify myself as Irish because I come from the island of Ireland. I have an Irish passport.
You don't count yourself as British?
No.
That's interesting.
No.
Do you count yourself as Irish or Northern Irish or both? Irish, but not a nationalist. Maybe,
yeah.
possibly.
We actually had this conversation coming down in the car, would you believe?
Did you? No way. What sparked that conversation in the car?
They were just
we didn't know what nationalist was.
Well, we were just talking. She asked the question. She's 13. She's very inquisitive now. What would be are we nationalists or Republican? I think we're Republicans. Yeah, no monarchy and your own.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'd say you're Republican.
Well, that was the discussion in the car. We didn't come to.
To be confirmed.
Right, yeah.
The north of Ireland has fought for 800 years to become one island.
Yeah.
And Brexit's pushing that more and more towards actually happening.
Does that make you worried?
It doesn't make me worry, I don't think, because at the end of the day, if it was one island, then at least to be governed by one place instead of being... the north now is governed by the politicians in Stormont, the politicians in Parliament over in England, and the politicians down south. So, whatever decisions are made here can be overridden by anybody else. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot of politicians.
It is, and it shouldn't be like that. So, as an island, it probably should go back to an island.
Do you like the idea of it, if it can happen in a peaceful way, of a reunited Ireland?
Yeah.
You're kind of making face stretches like you want to say something.
Well, I think it can't go like Brexit. It has to be well organised. People have to buy into it, and it has to be for the good of everyone.
You want to see the detail.
I want it to be good for economics. I want it to be good for society.
If it works, so.
But the National Health Service and things like that. But sure, even that, how good is that now? Which is something probably people would like to keep for here, and that's why they would be against reunification.
I want there to be peace. I don't want any of the fighting to go on again. That would be my main hope. I don't want any of the fighting to go on. So.
Yeah. Do you like the idea of a reunited Ireland? You do. You like the idea of a united Ireland?
Honestly, I don't care about any of that.
Really, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I grew up in Dublin. It was only 100 miles up the roads, but as we were kids growing up, it never really impacted us. But I live here now because I'm married to a Northern Irish woman, and there's obviously people on both sides that have really strong feelings about it.
Ireland wasn't really taken into North or South, wasn't taken into consideration as part of the Brexit conversations. It was a bit later on down the line.
Boris Johnson would disagree. He'd say, we were thinking about it.
But Boris Johnson would disagree with I'm Irish as well, living in the North. So, so Boris Johnson, who's sitting in Westminster, has his own constituency to look after. He'd have thought of what, the consequences of Brexit in Ireland. So, we're living that at the minute. So, that's what it is, So
could make some people are talking about a reunited Ireland. Is that a good thing?
Well, we need to have a border poll, have a referendum on it, and put it to the people. What the people are saying.
How soon would that happen?
Within the next 5 years, probably. Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, it should do. Yeah. Because the conversations. Brexit has brought them conversations further. As a result of Brexit, that conversation has now happened. Because before Brexit, that conversation wasn't there. So so it's happening.
Yeah.
So the conversation needs to happen.
And Donegal are losing at half time. Are they going to come back?
No, definitely not. Armagh people, so obviously we're here supporting Armagh, so Armagh's just going to kick on here now, scoring 3-7 in the second half, just to keep us all happy.
Yeah, great. 16 seconds left. Donegal in yellow need a point to equalise. And look, Armagh have got the ball, look! Armagh in orange here, racing towards the Donegal goal. And that's it, time's up. Armagh are the Senior Cup champions.
The level of expectation here about a reunited Ireland, or at least a border poll, surprised me.
They're a bit happy about it here.
Polling since the Brexit referendum has shown no consistent majority support for reunification. That the conversation about it is even happening, though, worries the unionists.
Hey, Paul, good to meet you now.
Yeah, Fergie, is it? What's happening today, just in brief?
Today we have what's called loyal orders here, which are basically the orange, the black and the apprentice boys. Today is the black preceptories organisation, something like the Orange Order, and we're going to have a church service. Next Saturday is their big celebration, like their 12th of July. So basically they have a church service today to celebrate all their culture, to celebrate their religion, and then, as I say, next week it's their main parade.
July 12th is when unionists celebrate the victory of Protestant King William of Orange over Catholic King James II at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690. Bonfires and these marches are a display of their British identity.
We feel we have been completely cut off now from the rest of Britain due to the EU and the Irish government threatening that if there was a border on the island of Ireland, this would lead to violence. All of a sudden, the British government, the EU, the Irish government all say, well, which is the worst violence? This is the way we look at it. Is it going to come from loyalists? Which, of course, it probably won't. And will it come from Republicans? Yes, it probably will. So our viewpoint is we have been completely divorced from Britain through this protocol. So we class ourselves as someone who lives in Birmingham, Nottingham, Glasgow, Cardiff, wherever. We class ourselves the same as that, but now all of a sudden we're not.
How do you identify? British and Irish, or just British?
To me,
Northern
I'm
Irish?
British. Right. I am British.
Northern Irish, would you say?
Yes, in a certain way, I'd be Northern Irish. I come from Northern Ireland, so yes, I would be Northern Irish.
No, it's interesting.
But I have a British culture, and I class myself as being very British. Yes.
What's fascinating is with every single bang of a drum, it's like they're saying, we are British, we are British, and they won't have that identity taken away from them.
Our view would be to completely scrap it.
Right.
To completely scrap the protocol. I think the vast majority of people like myself from this background would say we need to scrap this protocol, bring us completely back in line with the United Kingdom. The worrying thing is patients will eventually wear thin. We have seen a way when it first came in, riots in the streets. Thankfully, it's been calmed down. We don't want violence on the streets. The sad thing is, it only takes a few hotheads to bring the violence back. There's rumours. I haven't read the protocol completely myself, but I have read certain articles. And Article 6 says, if the protocol leads to widespread civil disobedience and violence, then the protocol must be scrapped.
I think the politicians in London listen enough to you.
They don't. I think the only thing politicians in London listen to is the threat of violence. To me, that is what they have listened to all along.
So is your prediction that if things stay as they are, by the end of the year there will be more violence?
My prediction is no. I hope there won't be.
I know what you hope, but what you think is going to happen.
I think things will stay quiet until something moves. And if it doesn't move quickly enough, then yes, there is that threat of violence. Yeah. There is that threat. And people are very, very angry.
Can Boris Johnson win your trust back?
Very, very doubtful.
Even if he got rid of the protocol?
If he got rid of the protocol, I think he would, yes.
Right.
I think he would. If he get rid of the protocol, yes. But he needs to be very quick.
As we leave Northern Ireland, I can't help but feel a little bit worried about the future. This film has by no means been a scientific poll, but many of the people we've spoken to say the protocol doesn't affect their identity. All they care about are decent, well-paid jobs, good public services, peace, happiness and security. For those that identify as Republican, however, they feel their identity has been emboldened or reinforced by the protocol. They feel a step closer to a reunited Ireland and potentially a brighter future, although questions still remain. But for the loyalists or the unionists, for those that identify as British, they feel their identity is under attack. They feel betrayed and angry, and that anger will only disappear when the protocol does. And there's no sign from the UK or the EU that the protocol is going away anytime soon.
Northern Ireland, the problem with the protocol, is available to watch again on our GBNews YouTube channel right now. My congratulations to Paul Hawkins, cameraman Joe Sheffer, executive producer Sophie Berman and everyone else involved. That's it. We've come to the end of our 2-hour On the Money bumper special. There'll be more on Northern Ireland next from none other than former First Minister Arlene Foster as she presents the briefing from 3 p.m. Thanks for joining me. See you on Monday.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Storm Arwen is hitting the UK today. There are a number of Met Office warnings issued, and there is a threat to life across parts of the east coast of Scotland, northeast England, where the winds are going to be particularly severe. Here is that storm system heading its way south through the North Sea, but it's as the isobars squeeze together here across first northern and then eastern Scotland down into northeast England later today that the winds will potentially cause some significant damage and disruption. But right across the UK, the winds will be picking up through the day and we could see some problems. So there is a number of warnings in place, yellow warnings covering much of the UK, but the most severe weather likely across the eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. There will be snow accompanying those strengthening winds as well over the hills across northern Scotland. We have warnings in place for that snow also. For the bulk of the heart of the country, plenty of sunshine around through this afternoon, some rain across East Anglia and the southeast, showers in the west. Feeling cold out there, and particularly as those winds strengthen. The strongest winds likely late afternoon into the evening down that eastern side of Scotland into northeast England. Damaging gusts of wind, flying debris, the threats to power, certainly major disruption to travel routes along that coastal strip. But everywhere, gusty winds through this evening and overnight, and this zone of wet weather sinking south, well, that could bring a covering of snow, certainly over hills, but even in places at low levels. The winds will remain strong. That'll help to keep the temperatures up a little bit, but if you are heading out tonight, it will feel cold. A cold start to the weekend. The winds will slowly ease during Saturday, but still very lively, and still the potential for this mixture of rain, sleet and snow across parts of eastern England during Saturday morning. Further west, it's largely dry, fine and sunny, but it will be cold as that wind only slowly eases down. Again, a cold feeling day. The Met Office warnings are on the Met Office website. Please keep up to date today.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Hello and welcome to The Briefing. I'm Arlene Foster, and over the next hour we'll discuss the government's action against the new COVID variant. We'll get the latest on the Channel crisis, and we'll hear from the Northern Ireland Secretary, Brandon Lewis. But first, it's the news with Rhiannon.
I'm Rhiannon Jones. This is your news at 3 o'clock. Belgium has confirmed the first case of the new COVID-19 variant in Europe. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, says the situation is of huge international concern. Strict travel restrictions are being imposed on 6 African nations following the discovery, with officials saying it's the worst one we've seen so far. The World Health Organization held an emergency meeting earlier today. No cases of the variant have so far been found in Britain.
We are concerned that this new variant may pose substantial risk to public health. The variant has an unusually large number of mutations. Yesterday, the UK Health Security Agency classified B11529 as a new variant under investigation, and the Variant Technical Group has designated it as a variant under investigation with very high priority.
A 12-year-old girl has died following an assault in Liverpool. Let's get the latest from the scene. Our reporter Bradley Harris is there. What's the latest, Bradley?
Well, the latest is that the 12-year-old girl has been named as Ava White. who unfortunately died after suffering severe catastrophic injuries during an argument that took place late last night during the Christmas light switch on in Liverpool city centre. 4 teenage boys aged between 13 and 15 from Toxteth have been arrested on suspicion of her murder. Officers found Ava collapsed on the ground on Church Alley. That's a short 5-minute walk away from where I'm standing now after the Christmas light switch on took place. A member of the public was there at the scene who had witnessed the incident and was trying to give her first aid. Ava, at the age of 12 years old, has died after suffering those catastrophic injuries. Now, the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police say that they believe that Ava and her friends have been involved in a verbal argument which culminated in Ava being assaulted, causing those catastrophic injuries, and that they say that they understand that the offenders were then seen to run up School Lane, across Hanover Street, where I'm standing now, and onto Fleet Street. But since then, a police cordon is in place and will be for quite some time as the police continue their investigation.
Bradley, thank you. France has pulled out of talks with the UK over what they're calling Boris Johnson's unacceptable letter about the migrant crisis. The Prime Minister outlined a series of measures to deal with the Channel crossings in a message to his counterpart Emmanuel Macron. 27 people drowned in the Channel on Wednesday after their boat capsized.
2 days ago, I had a serious discussion with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And for my part, I intend to continue to apply what I do with all countries and all leaders. I'm surprised when things are not done seriously. We don't communicate between leaders on these issues via tweets or published letters. We are not whistleblowers.
French fishermen have blocked several ports in the ongoing dispute over post-Brexit fishing licences. Fishing crews prevented UK ferries from docking or leaving the port of Saint-Malo this morning before targeting Calais and Ouistreham. They've also threatened to cause disruption at the Channel Tunnel. France's Regional Fishing Committee has described the blockade as a warning shot. A warrant has been issued for the brother of the Manchester Arena bomber. Ismail Abedi had been ordered to attend the public inquiry into the May 2017 terror attack, but he boarded a flight to Istanbul at the end of August and hasn't returned. It's argued he has important evidence to give on his younger brother's path to extremism. Extinction Rebellion are blocking roads outside multiple Amazon warehouses around the UK in Black Friday protests. A spokesperson for the climate group say they want to draw attention to what they're describing as exploitative and environmentally destructive business practices. An Amazon spokesperson said they take their responsibilities very seriously. And forecasters have warned of travel chaos as Storm Arwen is set to batter parts of the UK with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The Met Office has issued a red wind warning for parts of northeast England and Scotland from this afternoon. We're being told to expect power lines to come down, as well as damage to buildings and homes. I'll be back with the latest headlines in half an hour. Now let's return to Arlene and the briefing.
Hello and welcome to The Briefing, your afternoon fix of all the latest political news, debate and analysis. I'm Arlene Foster and here's what's coming up over the next hour. The government has imposed travel restrictions for 6 African countries. We'll look at what we know so far about the new COVID variant and why are some experts